By the end of 2025, China had more than 80,000 industrial zones. Around 80% of large industrial firms are located in these zones. There were 693 national-level zones and nearly 2,600 provincial-level zones. These higher-level zones contribute more than half of the country's industrial output. The vast majority were below these levels, spread across cities, counties, and townships. This zone system became the backbone of China's industrial economy. China's industrial zones grew from a method used again and again: test first, expand later. Before reform and opening, China had spent decades under a rigid planned economy. Production, investment, prices, and enterprise decisions were heavily controlled. Changing the whole system at once would have been difficult, risky, and costly. So industrial zones became testing grounds. In China, many were officially called development zones. A zone was a designated area where policy, land, infrastructure, and administration came together. In the 1980s, China began creating national-level development zones in coastal open cities. Once the model proved successful, it spread to provincial and lower-level zones. Development Zone operated through two linked arms: a management committee and a state-owned development company. The committee handled administration and approvals. The company built and managed roads, utilities, and factory space. It was also responsible for promoting the zone and attracting firms. They offered one-stop services for firms inside the zone, giving fast, practical support to help production start and keep running. For many years after reform began, registering a company through regular channels could take 1 month or even several months. Inside a development zone, the same process could be completed within a week. Firms could buy low-cost industrial land use rights, rent subsidized standard factory buildings, receive fiscal support and tax-related incentives. Under the committee's protection, they no longer had to deal with scattered agencies, repeated approvals, uncertain inspections, and many small local charges. This model was easy to repeat. Each locality only needed to prepare the site, create the conditions, and compete for firms. The investment race spread quickly because officials had strong incentives to join it. China has a centralized administrative system. Provincial leaders are appointed by the center. Lower-level officials are appointed by higher-level governments. Promotion prospects were closely tied to GDP growth, investment, industrial output, and job creation. Attracting investment became a core task. Development zones were the best vehicle. Local governments built zones around their conditions, such as raw materials, transport links, and research institutions. Over several decades, development zones had spread across China. The result was not one plan copied perfectly everywhere. It was thousands of local governments using the same model to pull in companies and build their own industrial base. As more firms arrived, these zones began to do something else. They turned individual factories into clusters. In the early reform period, attracting large multinational firms was the central goal of development zones. Once these anchor firms entered, suppliers, service providers, logistics firms, and subcontractors followed. This was how many clusters began. By the 2000s, development zones had grown too fast. The central government tightened approvals. To gain recognition, local governments had to show clearer industrial focus, stronger firms, technology upgrading, and cluster development. This pushed local governments to build more specialized clusters. China now has more than 2,000 industry clusters. This reduced costs and increased efficiency across the supply chain. A good example is robotics in Wuhu, a medium-sized city many people outside China have never heard of. Its robotics industrial zone has attracted a dense group of related firms. For a humanoid robot company, almost every key part, along with testing services and system integrators, can be found nearby. The same logic works in older industries and newer ones. Export demand and a huge domestic market enlarged the scale. The development zone system also came with costs. When thousands of local governments competed for industry, many chased similar sectors. Some zones became strong clusters. Others remained underused. Land was wasted. Debt accumulated. The bigger problem was overcapacity. When too many firms entered the market, prices fell and margins narrowed. The electric vehicle industry shows this tension clearly. China's EV boom created huge industrial capacity, but it also attracted too many local projects. In 2018, China had 487 new energy vehicle makers. By 2025, only a few dozen firms were still operating normally. Many failed firms had acquired industrial land, built plants, or received support from local industrial zones. It left behind enormous waste, idle factories, unfinished projects, and assets that were difficult to reuse. China has around 2,800 county-level divisions and roughly 40,000 township-level units. Against this administrative map, the scale of China's industrial zones is striking. Local investment promotion teams traveled across China and sometimes overseas, looking for firms, projects, and supply chains to bring home. Where the model worked, a place that once mainly supplied labor could begin to host production. In recent years, richer coastal regions pushed the zone system up the value chain. The focus shifted to high-tech industries, green manufacturing, and advanced equipment. Some labor-intensive industries moved to less developed provinces in central and western China. This was a gradual shift, not a replacement of the coastal industrial base. Stepping back, cheap labor was only one part of the industrial rise. The deeper structure was decades of state-led zone development, local government competition, and a zone system spread almost everywhere. As property-driven growth loses momentum, China's industrial zone system matters even more. Whether it can move toward higher quality development will help shape the country's future as the world's factory.